And welcome to the Life Credit Union webinar series for 2018. I'm Evelyn Brown, your coffee partner account manager at Consolidated Credit, and I'll be your presenter today. We also have on the line our panelist, Ms. Ann Wires from Life Credit Union. Ann, would you like to say hello?
Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you, Evelyn, for leading our webinar.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and get started. Part of the webinar series is really to provide information and knowledge to help you stay and keep financially fit. And just a moment or one slide here about who we are and what we do as the part of the hosting team here for this webinar today. Consolidated Credit is a nationally recognized nonprofit organization. We've been around for over 25 years and have assisted over 5 million people in financial matters. With the what part of what we do, we provide financial education and wellness seminars, online tools. We also provide debt management services as well as housing counseling. So we have partnered, Life Credit Union has partnered with us to bring you this seminar for today. And we will take a look at, with the holidays coming up, it's a very important topic to take a look at how we can prevent identity theft. How can we do that? This seminar will cover the fastest growing federal crime in the country right now at this time, and that is identity theft, and provide steps that you can take to minimize the chances of your personal information being stolen and used by criminals. Very, very important topic. So our agenda for today will include some facts around identity theft. We'll talk about how identity theft actually occurs and what are the different types of identity theft and how can we protect ourselves from it, and then what to do if in fact, unfortunately, we become a victim of identity theft. So what is identity theft? It basically occurs when someone steals personal information with the intent to commit fraud or some other crime. It can cost a lot of time and money, physical money as well as time, to rectify the situation if it occurs. It can also negatively impact a person's credit history if the fraudsters or the criminals get a hold of that personal information. And here are some facts. I always like to start my presentations with some statistics. And we won't have time to tap on each one of these, but just some key notes here. When we look at the top states for identity theft, and this is from last year, 2017 data, we can see the top 10 states that are involved with identity theft. And what this ranking represents are the incidents of reported identity theft to the Bureau of Justice. And they actually keep a rolling total on these statistics by state. We understand that identity fraud happens to over 17.6 million people a year. And it costs the consumer about $8 billion over the course of the year. And one of the interesting statistics is that studies have found that 32% of identity theft victims discovered a family member or a relative was the person who was responsible for stealing their identity. And the same study found that about 18% were victimized by a friend, a neighbor, or an in-home employee. So this is really, that was really startling to me personally to hear that 32% of the fraud is what the Bureau of Justice calls or identifies as friendly fraud that takes place. The median total financial loss is around $300, which is actually double the median total loss for physical theft. So it does carry a price tag, if you will. Just a few more facts about identity theft. The most prevalent forms of identity theft, 16% credit card, 45% is either tax or wage related fraud. This is where the criminals actually use personal information that's been stolen to file fraudulent tax returns. So almost half is related to fraudulent tax returns being filed on behalf of victims. There's also bank fraud and phone or even utilities fraud, which is something that you would not think of. So how does identity theft actually happen? It happens in a number of different ways and in a number of different environments. And this chart just gives us a visual of some of these facts. So there's online phishing identity theft or schemes that take place. Thieves always also try to hack your records through a computer, or in some cases, they do what's called dumpster diving, which is sifting through your trash and looking for your financial information. Thieves also can steal your physical mail, including bank and credit card statements or credit card offers or tax information and such. ATM fraud is another way that identity theft happens. This is when the thieves can capture your ATM card information by a technique called skimming, where they attach a device onto the ATM machine, and as you use your card, that information is skimmed off. And then direct theft is where a thief may steal a wallet, a purse, or financial information from your home and use that personal information for fraud purposes. Okay. This is just another way of looking at some of the information that I just shared. Another method that thieves use is through telephone scams, where they may do an outbound call and they may say, okay, well, I'm calling from a creditor and we've identified some activity on your account. Can you validate or can you verify your Social Security number? And that's a disturbing call to receive. And if we're not thinking and being aware, we could just inadvertently give away personal information. But one of the things to note about the phone scams is that whenever there is a phone call or even an email, a phishing email that comes through and you did not initiate that contact with your financial institution, then you do not give out any personal information if you did not initiate that contact. Immediately, just hang up the phone and you can call your financial institution and validate the status of your account. With the phishing emails, a lot of times what happens is that it might be a click on the link kind of situation. And once that link is clicked on in your email, then a lot of times it will download some type of virus or some type of malware is what it's called, in order to track your activity online. So these are all a part of the scams that are out there: the email scams, the phishing scams, credit card scams, where again an employee, quote, employee from your credit card company will call and ask for information. And most credit card companies do not do that. There's also unemployment scams out there where the criminals will try to file unemployment benefits in your name. And this is while you're actually employed, but they will try to file that information fraudulently in your name. And then there's also the IRS tax scams, where thieves will try to file a tax return in your name in order to receive a tax return. One other note too about the email scams: most of financial institutions, if they are conducting any kind of financial business with you by email, most of the time they use what's called the secured email. It's encrypted. And there's a whole process, a handshake process that takes place in order for you to be able to open up that email. So your financial institutions will not send an email that says, okay, reply with your personal information. They just do not do that. So we talked about how identity theft can happen, and here's a summary of the different types of identity theft that's out there. Social Security theft is when, of course, these use a Social Security number to apply for government benefits or assistance fraudulently in someone else's name. Medical ID theft is also something that's related, where a Social Security number might be used in order to apply for insurance, health insurance, medical insurance benefits fraudulently. There's several different ways personal information is used in order to try to apply for new credit or new loans. There's also misuse of existing bank accounts. And this can happen if someone has access to your online account or to your card and your PIN number, and they try to tap your existing bank account or your existing credit card. So all of these are ways, especially during the holidays, we just want to be aware of the fact that the criminals, they are out there, especially during the holiday season, and they're looking for that open door that says, aha, here's some information I can skim, I can scan, and use it fraudulently. So we talked a little bit, I tapped a little bit about on the unemployment fraud, but this is really a growing trend right now where thieves will try to use personal information for people who are employed in order to claim unemployment benefits. And the minute you see anything that looks suspicious or any type of contact that you're not aware of, immediately you want to call the unemployment office in your state and find out what's going on and give them that information. Let them know that you suspect it might be fraudulent activity in your name. For the medical identity theft, same thing. Some of the warning signs that might come up that you might see is that all of a sudden you receive a bill for services, that medical services that you didn't sign up for, or you begin to be contacted by a debt collector about medical bills, and you know that you haven't gone to the doctor. And another way is that you might notice on your explanation of benefits documents for your health plan, you notice that you've already reached a limit, and you say, well, how did that happen? I haven't even been to the doctor this year. All of those are signs of potential theft, identity theft. And again, you want to immediately contact your insurance company and let them know that you suspect that something is wrong. With ATM or debit card theft, this is very important. You want to definitely act very, very quickly the moment that you see or notice something that's suspicious. Your loss is only limited to $50 if you notify your financial institution within 2 business days. Beyond that, if the incident is reported outside of the 2-day window, you're now responsible for up to $500 in damages. And the greatest risk occurs that when the incident is reported after like 60 days, then it's basically unlimited as far as what you would be responsible for. So you definitely want to act very, very quickly if you see anything that's suspicious about your checking, savings accounts, ATM, debit card usage, and the minute that you suspect that your card has been lost or stolen, again, you want to report that immediately.
Evelyn, something related to that Life Credit Union offers is our card valet. It's like having a personal assistant for your debit card right at your fingertips, and I use it personally. It's wonderful. You download a free app that Life Credit Union offers, and you can lock or unlock your card. You can receive transaction alerts, which you set when you want to receive those alerts. You can set specific spending limits. You can check your account balances, review transactions. It really is great. I really like having Card Valet. It's free for our debit cards, and I would highly recommend that people look into that and use it.
Wow, that is excellent. Wow, that's an excellent, and it's free. It's included in membership. That's phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. That's a great, great tip. So we definitely want to keep that in mind. And just a few more points here on the different, actually, one more here on driver's license theft. This is also something that actually occurs. You don't think about, well, how could someone, perform identity theft concerning driver's license records? But the most common scenario is when a criminal obtains the driver's license number and other information from your driver's license, and they begin to rack up traffic violations based on your driver's license number. And what they would do is take your driver's license information and actually create a phony driver's license. So if they're stopped with a traffic violation, they would use this phony driver's license with another person's information on it. And so the same thing applies, that if you begin to all of a sudden receive in the mail all these offers from attorneys saying, did you get a traffic ticket? Let us help you get rid of that ticket, or things like that. And you have not received a traffic ticket, then your information might be out there. And immediately you want to contact your Department of Motor Vehicles and let them know that your identity, your driver's license information has potentially been hacked. Okay, so those are all of the different types of identity theft. And so now we can kind of turn the corner here to say, okay, well, what do we do about it? How can we actually prevent identity theft, especially during this holiday season? What are some of the warning signs? We talked about that a little bit. And then if it does happen, what do we do? So these are just some tips to keep in mind throughout the year as it relates to how we handle our personal information. So you really want to keep it private. That means we don't post our personal information out on social media. Uh, we use privacy settings on our social media to limit, who's able to see your personal information that when you post. And also be wary of strangers who all of a sudden want to friend you on Facebook. These may be actual fraudsters instead, who just want to be able to try to hack into your social media account. So you just want to be wary about those things, not paranoid, but just aware that there are folks out there who are fishing around and looking for that type of information. Another thing is you want to use strong passwords to lock your accounts. And you also want to have different passwords for different types of accounts. So you don't have one password for all of your accounts, because if that password is ever stolen, then that person or that entity would then be able to access all of your accounts. So that's something that's just good password management. Again, you don't want to click on ads or links in emails from people you don't know or companies you don't recognize. And even if it's a company that you do recognize, again, if you did not initiate that contact, then do not click on the link, because that's how viruses can be downloaded, or tracking software can be downloaded to your computer. Instead, go directly to that website. So if I receive an email from something from something that looks like bestbuy.com or amazon.com and did not initiate it, then I won't click on anything from that email. I will then instead go into amazon.com direct, log into my account, and manage and check it out from there. And we talked about phishing scams, downloading files. You want to make sure that you're using some type of internet protection software, whether it's McAfee antivirus, Norton, all of those different type of security software that you can purchase or download and install on your computer, and they work really well to protect your computer and your activity on the internet. And the last one, number 7 here, is very, very important. You want to make sure that when you're using public Wi-Fi, understand that it may not be secure. That means that anyone can see anything that you're doing on a public Wi-Fi network. So you don't want to go into an application or to a website where you need to type in a password, a secure password, because that information is public at that point. So if you just want to go on Wi-Fi to maybe do some internet surfing, check out, something at a store, that's fine, public, but do not access any of your password protected accounts on a public Wi-Fi because those networks are not secure. So these are all ways actions that we can take to prevent identity theft or make it harder for the fraudsters to get to our information. So what are some of the warning signs that fraud may have actually occurred? These are just a few things to think about. If you are applying for credit and you're denied for an application or credit card or loan, and you know that your credit is in good shape, but all of a sudden you're denied for credit, that might be a warning sign. So you want to go and pull your credit report and see what's going on, or contact that creditor directly and see if there's been any suspicious activity on your account. If there are errors on your bank or credit union or financial institution on your credit card statements, then that also might be a flag that there might be fraud going on. Any errors on your credit report, there's a statistic that says that there are about 47% for a U.S. population, 47% of the U.S. population has errors on their credit report. Okay, now that doesn't all point to fraud, but it just says that it behooves us to go ahead and get that free annual credit report that we're entitled to every year, and really look at what's there and see if we can clean up our credit report if in fact there are any errors. And a big warning sign of fraud is if you have debt collectors that are calling you and you know that you don't have anything in arrears. And so that's a big flag there that someone may have opened up accounts under your name. So
and
then
Evelyn,
what? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Jumping into that's no problem. Related to the errors on the credit card statement, like I just described with Card Valet that is available for our debit cards, we have similar services for our Visa credit cards we issue. Again, to help protect, to monitor, you can have it send every expense, every charge, so that you'll know if something comes through and you didn't charge it. Like I just got one today on my email about a charge I made, and I knew it was from me. At first I thought, oh, did I really spend that? And I was like, oh, yes, I did. So that's really good. And I would recommend, and most everybody does, but I would have an electronic statement, and I do, for my bank account and my Visa credit cards and everything that you can do electronically, because then, as you have said, it's not a paper version that can get in the wrong hands as easily. So strongly recommending electronic statements if that's something that will work for people.
That is such an excellent point. And as you were talking, I just thought about also, even if you're getting like the credit card offers in the mail, if you have good credit, they are going to reach out to you. And when you're receiving those credit card offers physically in the mail, you can actually contact that credit card company and ask them not to send you the offers in the mail. If you want to receive them, they can send them by email or some other method, but you can actually request that they not send the physical offer in the mail. And that also will help to, secure or reduce the, that exposure to possible fraud as well. Wow, good information. Good information. So then what happens if, in fact, fraud does occur? One of the first things you want to do is actually file a police report. And this is very important to do that because identity theft and fraud, it is a federal crime. And to the degree that we're able to get that incident reported, then it will help the police because the fraudsters, they might be targeting certain geographic areas or certain age groups or certain type of customers or consumers. And so the more information that we're able to actually report to the authorities, that's going to help them to hopefully, catch these criminals. And it's also a good idea to place a fraud alert on your credit report. And we're going to talk about fraud alerts in a minute, but this is also another good thing to do, again, to protect yourself. You want to review your credit report, contact your creditors. You can even file a complaint with the FTC, and they have some excellent information out on their website about things that you can do around identity theft. You may also need to notify your local postal inspector, typically at the main post office in your area, in your zip code area. You can contact them either by mail or in person and let them know because, again, the fraudsters might have targeted like a certain zip code. And then they, in turn, work with the authorities, the law enforcement authorities, to try to track these folks down. If it involves your Social Security number, you can contact the Social Security Administration, passport offices, etc. And in some cases, you may have to, close that checking account if the checking account has been compromised and open a new one. And your financial institution can definitely assist with that. And if it involves your driver's license, you want to inform the Department of Motor Vehicles. And again, they will help you with getting a replacement. So it's a matter of, if it happens, then it's a matter of just looking at all of the potential exposure areas and contacting those organizations to help you with the incident. And they're really available to assist you. And then we also, I talked about the fraud alerts that you can place on your credit report. There are actually two types. There's an initial alert that goes into effect for 90 days, and it can be renewed again like every 90 days. And what an initial fraud alert does is that it places an alert on your credit report so that no one can open up a new account under your name. And the credit reporting agencies would just kind of have your account flagged so that no one can open up a new account. Or if a new account is attempted to be opened, then they alert you and contact you along those lines with that information. And a fraud alert is free. and all three of the major credit report agencies or credit bureaus have this available. And now an extended alert lasts for 7 years. And the extended alert actually is tied to that police report that's filed. And this is usually where there have been just, an extensive fraud incident concerning the account. And so they freeze everything. They basically shut everything down so that the criminals would not have access to your accounts. And there was an example of this that happened, like when they have those like corporate breaches and someone gets in there and it steals like millions of account information and that type of thing. When those kind of breaches take place, that's typically like when that extended alert kind of goes into effect and becomes available so that they could really limit the liability and the exposure for the consumer. And credit freezes also are hand in hand with that, where it restricts access to your credit reports, so that if someone has your personal information and they try to apply for a loan, then the credit bureau will restrict access on that inquiry. And that information is fed back to that creditor to say, okay, no, this account is frozen. And that even the inquiry will not be allowed. And that's also another flag that some fraud activity might be taking place. So these all are like, they work hand in hand between the credit bureau and the creditors and the lenders to try to limit that activity once, fraud is trying to be enacted by the criminals. Good safeguards there. Okay, so we're almost complete. Just a few more slides. Your rights and your resources. There are a lot of state laws that regulate the protections, like the fraud alerts we were just talking about, and all of this information is at your the Attorney General for your state. Each state has an Attorney General, and at their website, usually if you go to your state's website, there's a section there for the Attorney General's office, and they have tons of information there on consumer protections that are offered and where you can get help based on the situation that has occurred. And then these are some additional resources that are available. Contacts here for the major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And we mentioned requesting your free annual credit report once a year, and this is the official website for that. That's www.annualcreditreport.com in order to order your credit reports from all three credit bureaus. And then we have your state attorney and FTC contact. So this is actually my last slide on the resources, and I wanted to provide Anne with another opportunity to speak with you concerning any other products and services that are available at Life Credit Union.
Absolutely. Thank you, Evelyn. That was so rich with specific examples of how we can all be safer and protect our money, our peace of mind, and so much more. So very helpful. Thank you, Evelyn. And I wanted to mention, in addition to card valet and ways to protect your Visa credit card, which we discussed earlier, we have other ways to help you protect your identity and money at Life Credit Union. We have Visa gift cards. And one idea that I've heard people do is to get a Visa gift card and use that when they're making purchases online. They feel that is safer than using their Visa credit card. Gives them peace of mind. So we do have Visa credit cards here that you can use it anywhere where Visa is accepted, and you get it issued instantly at Life Credit Union in our branch here. Of course, there are prepaid Visa cards, which is something you load and it's reloadable, and you can use that for domestic and international purchases. It's kind of like in the olden days when you used to have traveler's checks, although you can use it for much more than travel. But it's a prepaid Visa card that you load the amount you want on there. There's also a prepaid debit card. That's another option. So there are differences, little nuances for each of these, and you're invited to go to our website, learn more about them, or call us, come in, and we will consult with you and help you work through the best option for you. And I do this personally. I have my one credit card. I have others that I put everything on because I like getting the points. But I have one credit card that I use at the pump at the gas station because that's notorious for a place where skimmers are put on and people steal your information. So I only use that one credit card at the pump, at the gasoline pump, and I use that same one. I'm not a big online purchaser, but if I do, I use that same one. So I can easily see it doesn't get mixed up with all my other credit card or debit card purchases. So that's another idea. So if you are a Life Credit Union member, we thank you. If you're not currently a member or customer of Life Credit Union, you are invited to join us. Come experience the difference you will feel. I promise you. And we thank you again, Evelyn, and just wishing everyone safety, safety, safety. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. That's great advice, and really some great best practices that you shared. And it's interesting. That's something that I do as well. What you were sharing about you use one credit card for certain things, and so that those purchases aren't all mixed up with it. I do that same thing, and that's a great best practice. As well as I really like the idea. Thanks for reminding me personally about using a Visa gift card during the holidays instead of your personal Visa card when you're online and doing different transactions like that. Great advice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, this wraps up our webinar seminar for today. We want to thank you again for joining us and being a part of the webinar series. So have a great afternoon, great holiday season, and we will see you next time. Thank you.